大家好，我今天讨论数字中文. I'm just kidding, guys. We're going to do this in English. Like, totally. And all you tone aficionados, suck it. Today we are going to talk about learning Chinese in Taiwan, or just learning Chinese in general. And I will go ahead and forewarn you that I am filming obviously on my bed, so my dogs reside on my bed half of the time. So if you see some distractions or whatever, just know that it's them, and try to ignore all the cuteness and just try to focus on me. But anyway, so I am one of those people that I do truly believe that if you are in a different country, that you should try to learn, where English is not the first spoken language, you really should try to learn the predominant language that is spoken. That's just me. I feel like a lot of, especially Americans, they have this attitude of, oh, you should learn English when you're in America, but yet we don't extend that same courtesy for when we are in a different country. So I find that quite interesting and hypocritical. So anyway, but I definitely want to tell you my journey in trying to learn Chinese. I can first of all tell you that I have never had an official like classroom experience with Chinese ever. Well, except for, okay, wait, let me take that back. I did have a classroom experience. It was for 2 days, and it was for 4 hours total. 2 days, 4 hours total, so 2 hours a piece or hour and a half a piece, something like that. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it too much, and it was a private tutoring type session. So when I came to Taiwan, I knew nothing about Chinese. I didn't know how to say hello, thank you, like nothing. So when I first came, you guys know I definitely worked for the government, and they did attempt to try to give us a little bit of Chinese when we first came to kind of get our feet wet, like saying hello and I'm tired or I'm going home. They also gave like the popular foods, but these lessons were literally only 2 or 3 days out of the time that, you know, it just wasn't a lot to go on. So I began learning Chinese from the very beginning because I'm in a country where you have to speak it or you might go hungry. So it started off very simple with very simple phrases like, where is this? It's a lot of pointing and whatnot, and you pick up some. And I feel like it was around my 3-month, it was either between my 3 and 6 month mark where I was like, okay, actually you need to sit down and you actually need to really apply yourself and really try to for real learn Chinese. Because at that point I just knew how to say I want, or to say I don't want. I knew how to say like water. I knew how to say where is something. I also I knew my numbers up to maybe 50. I don't know. And what else? There was something else that, oh, I was also learning just the names of foods that I wanted and just would tell them that. Oh, and knowing how to ask like how much something is. So, and honestly, you have those phrases down, you can actually get a lot done. Anyway, so I said I need to sit down and really try to start learning something. So it was around I feel like it was between my 6 month mark that I said, okay, I need to really try to start learning Chinese for real. And so I have some examples. I definitely do want to show you guys. The place that I first started was, and I don't know if they're still there, they are called Easy Chinese. And what the thing was with this is that they did not use the general pinyin that you see a lot used in China. Taiwan, more or less, it's used as well, but definitely in mainland China. So what they did was they took the pinyin, oh, and I have this backwards, no I don't, and they took I don't know if you can really see this, but basically instead of using proper pinyin, they kind of do it like the way it's phonetically said. So if you look at hello, it says ni hao, and instead of it going N-I-H-A-O, it's the other way, N-E-E-H-A-U. So, and I feel like I've kind of said this before. I feel like I've used this example before, so I may have talked about this at one point. But anyway, they give several lessons for free, and then you pay like $10 and you get the rest of the materials. And this was actually very helpful, believe it or not, getting me to starting to speak more Chinese. The phrases, learning a little vocabulary here and there. It was good for my life, where I was and things like that. It wasn't like I was like I was in these situations where I was just meeting a ton of Taiwanese people and like having to know how to speak Taiwanese. It was and still is a lot of just question and response, very simple stuff like when I'm needing something or wanting something or looking for something, right? So this was pretty good, but I will say like the pinyin thing, like now looking back on it, like you probably want to use proper pinyin, but it's a good way to get you there if you're having problems like making that switch. The way certain letters are put together in pinyin, we wouldn't read naturally in English like that. So, but seriously, if this is a good little starter. Then the next time I attempted to start learning Chinese again was my first year when I was going back home. And with that, I used a program that I really highly recommend. And that is, I can show you, hopefully again, once again, it'll show. I use Yo-Yo Chinese, and I took the beginner course. The beginner course is about 6 months. So I started around, I feel like July of 2014, 2015, and I finished late in February. I fell behind schedule, and I finished while I was in Singapore. So some of those lessons totally like went over my head because I was in a rush. But I definitely can recommend Yo-Yo Chinese. There is an online instructor, but it's not an online instructor, if that makes any sense. So you have one woman who has recorded a bunch of videos, and they have the main lessons, grammar, and other Chinese learning tips. And it's very highly regimented. It has a really strict schedule, or flexible schedule, depending on, how much you're willing to keep paying to pay for this. And you just work your way through the program, and it's very good. Oh, and it also has the audio practice that you can use as well. They also, one thing that I really like about them that makes them really awesome is that they actually use actual Chinese speakers on the street to ask questions that helps you kind of get used to actually how quick it's sped up. Because that would be my one critique for when my students are learning English, is that they continually look at things that are instructional based, kind of sort of, where the English speakers are speaking a little slower and over enunciating their words. And that's good in one way because it helps them get the listening practice. But then you have somebody like me who's Speedy McSpeederson. Sometimes when I talk, you have to know like how different people speak. You have to know the different accents sometimes so that you can understand like what they're saying. And so I like that Yo-Yo Chinese does that. They give that actual like really raw feel of what's going on and how different other people will sound. The only thing is that I'm used to the Taiwanese accent, which is, I'm told, more of a Southern Chinese type sound. And that's the one I will more tune into more. But because I started watching more Chinese dramas, I am starting to get better at the northern accent of China, which is the preferred accent sometimes when you are learning Chinese. So I've completed part 1, and then I also have part 2 that I still haven't finished yet, and I feel kind of bad about it because I keep saying I'm going to finish and I don't finish. But this is what I'm saying, like, you have your study guide and it tells you like, it tells you like every single thing you're supposed to be doing by the day, okay? And it does amp up in these lessons. You, instead of staying 5 days a week, you're staying 6 days a week, and the lessons are longer now. Like there can be up to an hour and a half. So it's a lot more time dedication for this one. And another thing that I also did was, they also, if you look at some of these notes, I'll show you a little bit. Like if you look at the notes, you will see that there is Chinese there. They have traditional and simplified. I have to pay attention to traditional because Taiwanese use traditional characters. but it's not the focus of learning these characters, but you can if you want to. I did start learning Chinese characters on my own just to try to keep me interested in learning Chinese, because there will be times where I'm just not interested in learning Chinese. So I had to do something to kind of spark my interest back up. So I started learning Chinese characters. Now, please remember, I have 2 dogs. So this is my this is my character book. This is the actual name of it or whatever. And it's really good with this book and trying to go over things again and again and again. I have been introduced to and know around anywhere from 400 to 530-ish Chinese characters. I also use the Anki flashcard system where I go through my characters and things like that. And I try to pay attention to that. Now, there's one book that I did not bring, and I'm so sorry, and maybe if I can find a picture, I'll put it. But I am using the National Taiwan Normal University textbooks, and it's for beginner level 1, and it's very interesting so far because a lot of the stuff I've already learned because of Yo-Yo Chinese. But I'm using that material because I am going to be taking the reading and listening test in about a month and a half coming up. So I'm really super nervous about that. There's no reason. I really just want to take the test to really see what's going on. When learning Chinese, you have to be really patient with yourself. You have to realize that it's not based on an Arabic system. It's something else completely different, and that's what makes it sometimes one of the most difficult languages to learn. Everything that you do is progress, and I know if you learn right now, you're gonna be like, oh, I've heard that so many times, but seriously, that's all it is, right? I have done language exchange partners. I've had a few good ones and I've had a few bad ones. A lot of times my language exchange, I do them online. I've had Chinese people and I've had Taiwanese people. Of course, I'm going to prefer Taiwanese people because I'm very much into authentic Taiwanese people speaking Mandarin Chinese. So I'm not really like, I have had, and I've enjoyed my Chinese language exchange partners. One in particular, he was really great. So, and he's the one that actually said, like, seriously, you need to learn Pinyin, like, properly. And I did, and it saved my life. So thank you, language exchange partner. You know who you are. And it's really good to have that conversation sometimes with your language exchange, but you have to be really strict with it though, because sometimes, because Chinese or Taiwanese people, a lot of them have been learning English since they were in the 3rd grade, whereas you're just coming for the first year and you're trying to learn as much as possible. Sometimes they are already naturally stronger in English, and so they'll kind of revert to speaking English, and you're like, no, come back to Chinese, please. And also sometimes if you're having a very hard time like getting an idea out, sometimes they'll get impatient and be like, it's okay, like just type it or Google Translate or do something. So it can be very frustrating. I'm not going to take that way. It can be super frustrating, but I will say just keep trying, and keep trying. Listening stuff. I do listen to a few Chinese songs, but not a lot. I say it just makes it fun a little bit for me to sing along to a Chinese song that I have the pinyin to, or, you know, I'm just like reading, you know, though that's fun. I do like watching Chinese dramas. Unfortunately, Taiwanese dramas, I've kind of given up on them because I just can't find ones that resonate with me all the way. And even Chinese dramas, I'm going to be honest, I don't watch your typical mainstream Chinese dramas. I watch the stuff that gets banned, so I'll let you figure that out. But it makes me tune in, and I'm to the point now where I will watch a drama, right, that hasn't had English subbing yet, and I'll just still watch it, and I probably will only understand 30 to 40% of what is actually being said, and I'm okay with that because I get the gist of it. I still wait for the English subs and I'll watch it again, but I'm not like so like ornery about needing to know every single little thing. And sometimes I do cheat and I pause and I like read down at the bottom to be like, oh, that's what they're talking about. So anyway, if you ask me how much do I study, usually I would say when I'm being a good girl and I'm studying, it could be like an hour to an hour and a half that I use for actually studying. I am going to start tutoring again, but this time it is with a college student whose major is not languages. So this will be very interesting to see how this works out. I'm very excited. I'm very nervous about the tests coming up, but we'll see what happens. Yep. unless you're just like really good at languages, you will really have to work hard at learning Chinese. Try to use it when you can. Don't shy away. And yes, I'm not going to lie, some Taiwanese people can be super duper like rigid about, and these aren't teachers, they can be super rigid about speaking Chinese. And it helps me understand why so many of them are scared to speak English in front of us, because they're scared that we're going to be extremely rigid about you speaking English to us. And I can tell you that a lot of us aren't, but I feel like because that say everything perfect mentality that exists in Taiwan pervades the thought process so much, it stops them from being okay with speaking to us in English, which kind of influences us and makes us scared to talk Chinese to them. So really a lot of times you have to just say, fuck it, I'm going in, and just go. And either they're going to be good sports about it and really try to understand what you say, or, you know, they're not. And you probably don't want to hang around those people. I'm just going to be honest, because I've met a few people like that before, and I just completely ignore them and never talk to them again. So there you go. Anyway, if you have any more questions, just ask me down below and I'll try to answer it. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you again later. Bye.